It's the Craggy Rugby Podcast. We're back. Rugby's back. Well, URC Rugby's back. We had an awful lot of good rugby over the last few weeks, William, but we're back to the sports ground. Connacht taking on the Ospreys.
Yeah, there's rugby on here. Bit of a problem in South Africa. I don't know, are they cursed down there? I was talking to our correspondent Morgan Peake today. Real disappointment in South Africa. All the teams having to get out because of this COVID variant issue. So those 4 games are gone, but big night for Connacht tonight. They need to hit the ground running here. Ospreys are coming in 4-1. Toby Booth has said this is going to be their severest test of the season. Connacht are 2-3. Obviously they're in different shields, but Connacht just need to start winning and keep winning. They need to sort out home wins, and the Ospreys are a tough opponent. These are always tight games, and they're a side that sometimes seems to have the hex on Connacht a little bit. I know Connacht are about 3 out of 4, which is probably the best they've ever been against them. But tonight will be a big test. A big test for Connacht as well. Can they play this fast, offloading, moving game? It is a rough night here. This is a proper sports ground evening. Winter has landed.
It certainly has. It's very cold. I've got layer upon layer upon layer. I've got a couple of pairs of socks on. My feet are still cold, and I've walked in from town. I'm just looking at the flags. They're blowing straight down the ground, more or less. So it probably will be a game of 2 halves. And it will be fascinating to see if Connacht can play and adapt, because this is one of the words they're using. It's fast, adaptable. So let's see if they can adapt tonight, because this is actually the 3rd time they've played the Ospreys in the sports ground this season. It's 1-1, lost one so far.
Yeah, that's one of the anomalies of COVID, I suppose. It has caused a few strange situations to arise. It is going to be a game of 2 halves. It's going to be very important, because sides, how you use the wind and then how you play against it. I don't think it's going to change. It's not going to swing around at half time. It's not going to die down. So the toss, what the decision is, this is a tight one. I think if Connacht can play with the same endeavour that they did against Munster and Ulster, then I think they can win this game tonight, and I think they really do need to win it. I think a loss here tonight puts them in a very, very difficult situation, wins and losses wise.
It does, and it also then goes back to the whole thing. Connacht can get themselves up for some games and not for others. They need to get rid of that inconsistency. Let's hope that Dave Heffernan has a good night. He's 150th cap. It's a heck of a milestone to get to.
It's a great milestone for him. I mean, it's you've got Shane Bolton's at the other end. I'm sure he's a bit nervous tonight making his debut. He probably would have preferred a calmer, more should we say, windless night. But Dave Heffernan, 150 caps, that's a spectacular achievement. And he's still a very, very important part of this team. Oren McNulty at fullback as well. Let's see what he's got. They're going to need a lot of players in this 10-week section. 10 weeks, 10 games. Maybe the Stormers game is in doubt in early January now, but that's the plan, and you need a big squad of players to keep them. You're going to have to keep rotating them and keep players interested, keep them fit. So it's good to see some changes tonight, and the pack looks nice and strong, nicely balanced. Fascinating game. This is the start. This is the telling part of the season. These 10 games. No way around it. If you get this, you'll know where you are in Europe, you'll know where you are in the URC when we get to the end of January. But it's one game at a time, as Andy Friend told me earlier in the week.
Exactly. Okay, we'll chat later. Thanks, William.
In Marmion, he finds Carty. Carty throws out a long pass to Mac Hansen. Hansen turns back inside. Oh, the jinking feet, and Hansen is going to score. That's a fine try by Mac Hansen. Paul Boyle, he's done a power of work already in carrying. He presents that ball back, nicely presented. Fast ball up, Owen McNulty's away. Oh, he's only pulled back by his jersey. Dave Heffernan on the feed. Mac Hansen is on the way down the wing. The man in the white hat, he feeds it inside, and it's going to be a try for Shane Bolton, and that's another lovely piece of work by Connacht.
20 minutes in, Connacht lead 13-8. It's a scrum to the Ospreys, and the Clan are getting wound up because there's a bit of a storm blowing, Dave.
There's a storm blowing. I think Connacht's biggest problem right now is ourselves. The try that we get conceded to them was very much a case of trying to play. That was an error. It was a drop pass. They pounced on it, and we know we can't afford those passes. If we can get in at half-time within a score or in front, that's good work. But this wind, if it stays like this, is going to be a nightmare.
just short of their own 10-metre line down in front of us here in the main stand. Marmion to feed in, the rain sheeting down. The wind has picked up. Boyle picks up from the back. He's gone 10, 12, 15 metres. He's up to halfway. Marmion looking for the ball. Penalty to Connacht. Ospreys not releasing the tackler, and they've got an opportunity now to free play. Oliver feeds it out, finds Bolton moving it across. Connacht again driving through. Connacht are on their way. McNulty is on his way to score.
Half time here in the sports ground. Connacht lead 18-11, and they've got a gale force wind to play with in the second half. Couldn't be better, really, could it?
Well, it could if it wasn't a gale force wind and rain. But look, it's been a brilliant first half, hasn't it? I think.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is.
I'm hoping, Linley, that's the last time we get an interruption from John shouting too loudly. Sorry, yes, where were we? 18-11. Really good from Connacht.
Yeah, look, I think the way Connacht started was absolutely fantastic. I mean, the ball in hand is just incredible, the pace on it. And, I mean, look at the conditions. And, I mean, to deliver those passes at the speed of which they, and the accuracy was just absolutely brilliant football to watch. And they're well worthy of their half-time lead of 18-11. I suppose in these conditions as well, you know, it can be a bit tricky, let's face it. Holding on to ball in these conditions, you know, is difficult. And also, you could look at the Ospreys. They obviously might have the measure of them in many ways, what they presume is up front. So that's going to be where they're going to attack from now on. So, look, this is Connacht's game now to lose. It's theirs, and it's a wonderful, you know, to come back here after a month for this. And it's also wonderful to have the Galway Senior Women's Camogie team here as well, celebrating their All-Ireland victory.
It certainly is, and I'll pop over here to Dave now because I have to socially distance here still, so to jump back around. Dave, this is 3 games in a row Connacht have performed. Have we lost the whole up and down, and we actually becoming a proper rugby team now? That can challenge? That can challenge. A rugby team that can challenge.
Absolutely. We've always been a rugby team that could challenge. We've always been capable of producing performances that were outstanding. It's the consistency that's always bugged us. And I mean, it's 3 games where we've had a month off. So if we talk to me, we'll see where we are at the end of this 10-game block. But you have to be encouraged with that. I don't think TV can properly tell you what it's like out there. I don't think there was a 10-minute spell, and you actually were starting to worry. If it stays like this game is going to get called off. I was worried the post would come down. That's how bad it got. This rugby has been outstanding from Connacht. We need to maintain that in the second half. We're only at half time. Before we talk about consistency over games, let's have a consistency within a game. So let's see this one out. 7 points up playing into that wind. I'd be much more concerned if I was Toby Booth than if I was Andy, but at the same time, the job is only half done.
Okay, Dave, 60 minutes in. Connacht now lead 32-18, but they're making heavy weather in this heavy weather of this game.
I'm just not going to talk to you if you're going to do that. Simple as. Yeah, we actually started quite well. We came out, we got a penalty, we kept them down there, we got the try through Sam Arnold. We then fell asleep. And they mullered us in a couple of scrums, and they got a deserved try. But we've got a penalty try. If I'm Luke Morgan, I am extremely annoyed that he got yellow carded when Dan Evans didn't. It's 14 points now. We can't let up. We can't let up between now and the end of the game. If we do, you're just another try for them, and suddenly you're back squeaking again. And there's no way they deserve to take anything from this game. They've been poor. But we can't let them back into the game, and we need to be professional at the end of the game now.
Blade tries to turn back inside. He finds a bit of space, finds Peter Robb this time. Robb flicks it out to Blade. Blade's 5-6 metres short. Blade's still going, and Blade is in to score. Blade looking for a runner. He's got a runner. It's Carty, and it's very simply out. And Conor Fitzgerald is in to score behind the posts, and that was nicely worked in the end.
Okay, Dave, I think John's finished.
John is never finished.
No. Okay, but certainly the Ospreys were finished off by Connacht too. That last 20 minutes pulled away and finished off winning 46-18. Really comprehensive and very well deserved.
Yeah, I mean the penalty try killed them. It was a huge moment in the game. Not so much that it was turning point but it killed off the Ospreys. They clocked off after that. There was some lovely rugby. Not perfect. There's a lot to work on in terms of little things. It was just about, it was an 80-90% performance, but yeah, I cannot emphasise again, even in the second half, Jack was lining up one of the last conversions and it was just horrific. We got 60. We had a game of rugby where we got 64 points. We got 9 tries. We got some running rugby. We got some chances that were blown, and it was played at times in the monsoon. So credit to everybody. Credit to the guys who went in behind the posts. How they stuck it out for 80 minutes. They're better people than me. But we got a big game coming up. We got 3 big weeks coming up. And we're going in a good place because it was easy to, after the Ulster game, they caught up in that, take the month off and come back undercooked. They weren't undercooked. They're not fully there, but that point you said about are we capable of challenging, if we keep this up, yes we are.
Excellent, thanks Dave. We'll talk again in a few minutes after we've heard from the post-match press conference.
Big sense of satisfaction after that. That was a comprehensive win and performance.
Yeah, it's a great feeling, to be honest, William. I just thought the manner in which we played, you said you wouldn't have known for lots of the game there that the conditions were doing what they were doing. I just thought a lot of the key principles that we keep talking about that have been instilled in the fellas, the tight lines, the bodies in motion, the running square, we saw that and you can see a real air of confidence starting to grow within the team. We got to a point where we were a little bit confident stages and probably didn't respect the ball enough as we needed to. But they're a good side, Ospreys, so to be able to come away with a scoreline like that's pleasing.
In the first half, ball in hand in maybe difficult conditions, the skill sets were good, and I think did that knock them off their stride a bit because you just kept coming at them. Connacht never relentless, if you want to use the word.
Yeah, and that was actually the theme going into tonight. We just said we have to be relentless, and the message that came down after 2 minutes and 20 seconds when we scored the first try was relentless. We played into a breeze, as you know. It probably suited us because we had to keep the ball in hand, and we got some very talented footballers that have been working really hard on their skills, and it will look like it came together tonight.
Was that a choice to play into the wind?
Yep.
Mac Hansen now becoming a crowd favourite, but every time he gets the ball, there seems to be something's going to happen. It's there's a few other players tonight stood up in that, but he seems to create a buzz that we haven't seen for a while.
Yeah, he does. He's got an amazing ability to beat the first defender every time. It looks like he beats the first defender, but he's growing. He's growing in confidence too, and he's becoming more familiar with the game style that we're playing and the surroundings. And he just said to me in there, he said, I honestly thought they were going to call it off after 15 minutes. He said, I was waiting for him to stop it. But he hasn't been in Galway long enough, has he? So, no, he was good, mate, but he had a few mates with him that were very good too.
Dave, congratulations, 150th cap. That's the sort of game you want to celebrate a milestone in like that. It was a pretty complete performance.
Yeah, it was. We talked all week about backing up the Ulster game, and that's the kind of standard we want to set ourselves. So to be able to do that in those conditions, we were just really clinical, especially in the first half. And to play the style of rugby we did, we're really happy with that one.
Lots of tries for the backs, but they can't do it without the ball, and it's you guys get the ball for them. Set piece worked well, line out was going nicely. That was a really solid performance by the pack, and the players that came on as well all seemed to fit in really well.
Yeah, I thought we laid a pretty solid platform. We didn't have many lineouts really in the first half, but look, they did put us under a bit of pressure at scrum time, and that's something we need to work on. But Summer and Malty was really good. We just brought a good tempo to the game. There's a lot of pick and goes, a lot of picks through the middle and stuff. And I think we got a bit of go forward for the backs, and then they were unbelievable tonight, just clinical.
Andy, next Friday night, different challenge again. Side who probably will be 6-0 going in. Connacht are 3-3 now. So, what can you take out of this? What, are you going to look to play the same game plan and set yourselves up the same way at the RDS?
Oh, it'll be a little bit different, but what you're seeing at the moment, that's the nuts and bolts of it. But we may have a couple of different things that we throw out there. But you know what you're up against Leinster at the RDS. You're up against a very good side, so you've got to be at your best. And the key message in there tonight was well done, but we've got another huge challenge next weekend. Last time we were at the RDS, we had the win. They'll remember that. We remember that. And it's up to us to try and repeat that.
Any knocks after tonight? Young Niall Murray didn't come back, but Oisín Dowling had a great game when he came on.
Yeah, I thought he did too. No, listen, I think Niall's fine, mate. He was quite frustrated at half time there, but that's the new rules. If you don't pass your HIA, you stay off. So we need to protect the players, and we did. But other than that, I think we came through pretty clean.
Hey Craggy Rugby fans, thanks for listening as always. You can help us out by spreading the word. Share this podcast with all your Connacht Rugby loving friends. You can also help us out by joining our club membership, patreon.com/Craggy Rugby. Sign up and get loads of additional podcasts, including our weekly preview show. And this month's star of the show is Johnny O'Connor. Our big interview special is sitting there just waiting for you to listen to it.
Right, who did we have at the press conference? We've got William Davies back again.
We had Andy Friend and Dave Heffernan.
You've just heard what the lads had to say. William, we didn't get to listen to you. I've had a hell of a day with all sorts of things going wrong, and you managed to save some headphones for me, and Linley's just saved my leap cards, amongst other things that have gone wrong today. But that result went very right. How did your commentary go?
Pretty good, yeah. It was an enjoyable game to commentate on, especially the first half. It got a bit disjointed in the second half. Connacht were very impressive. I think everybody was maybe a bit stunned that they tried to play that sort of rugby in those conditions, but they did it. And I was a bit disappointed with the Ospreys, to be honest with you. I expected a bit more from a side that were coming here 4-1. Some of their kicking, there was just an aimlessness to the whole thing. But the pressure that Connacht put on them, Connacht just pinned them back. But if you run at sides like that and you have people like Mac Hansen and Oran McNulty, I know it's only one game start, but if you've got people who can run at them and do that, that puts you on the back foot. And once they got him on the back foot, they weren't as clinical maybe as they needed to be. And I think Andy Friend alluded to that in the press conference, that they kind of got a bit off the pace a bit. And he said this is only one win, and next Friday the reset starts immediately for Leinster. But enjoyable game, good crowd in, and we've never beaten the Ospreys 44-18 before, I don't think.
We did, actually. We bet them 44-16 in 2017. So, but it's the joint top score we've ever had. It's the most points we ever scored against them.
Fair enough. Well, I told the listeners on Galway Bay FM we've never won by that much before. But anyway, there you go. Didn't have my stats in front of me. I don't know how that result will be in Wales. It's a funny one. This competition's got a lot of problems at the moment. So it's good to be winning games. Where we're all going to be in a few months' time, I don't know. But Connacht are 3-3 and they're off to the RDS next Friday.
Yeah, indeed. Linley, I'm beginning to feel that we're playing the same skill levels in that. Like at one stage, I think Dave mentioned it during the middle of the match. Like, you could barely see the ball. There was so much rain coming down, and Connacht scored a try during that period. Their skill levels are way back up again, aren't they? Yeah,
I actually think they're playing 2016 rugby under Pat Lam. It's just it's different, but it's the same. The skill levels are great. There's a confidence. There's a kind of almost like a swagger, about them and the way that they're playing, and they seem all at one in terms of their support play. I think that they're looking good, and the fact that they went out there in that weather like that and they were still able to maintain it was pretty good. I'm not actually overly surprised about the Ospreys. Because if you look at their results, they've had 4 wins from 5, but they're all very close wins. They weren't fantastic wins. They weren't like bonus winning sort of performances, were they? So I wasn't really surprised that this is the first time they've probably had a side that's actually really upped the tempo and the pace on them. And I think that was, I think that's where it all came down to, the pace and the pace of Connacht and their continuity and their confidence to play like that in conditions like this.
Exactly. And Dave, for me, the other impressive thing that nobody's talking about was the defence. I know they let 2 tries in, but one was a breakaway hack down the field and the other was from a midfield scrum into 22, which most teams should score from. And even that came from Paul Boyle knocking Rhys Webb off the ball and then unluckily knocking the ball on. Defence has become really, really good, and their energy levels while they're defending are incredible.
It is true. We need to emphasise again, none of their mauls went anywhere. They made about 3 foot and they all stopped. The maul defence, it's more obvious because you see it, but it's not just that. When the amount of times we're knocking, it's not just tonight, it's been the last 3 or 4 games, we're knocking guys back. That used to be something that used to happen to us quite a lot. And if you win, you don't have to put a lot of guys into the breakdown. Especially towards the end, when you thought, well, they might throw a few guys in, guys might be a bit tired and thought, I can steal things here and be over and do that. There wasn't. The discipline was there, which meant you had more guys in the line. But, that means, it's one thing to stop them at the line, but to drive them back, it was huge. There were a few times it was a little disjointed, but you didn't think, they're going to switch to the wings, and the wingers, I'm not saying they didn't have to, but they weren't put to the pin of their collars, and the wingers were never turned, and that's a huge sign for any team.
It certainly is. I'll tell you what, we've talked about the weather and how cold and freezing it is. We're all standing here frozen. We're going to cut this one short tonight because it's just too cold to keep going. So thank you, Linley. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, William. We'll be back next week. We'll be back during the midweek. We'll have our midweek podcast. We'll have the coaches' thoughts on the teams that's picked for the Leinster game next week, and we'll be back for the Leinster game. Bye, folks.
Loose, cut it loose. Break out or nothing changes. Side